We're here at the Red Vic Peace Cafe in San Francisco, continuing our conversation with Gail James, Kansas coordinator with U.S. Women Connect, and Diana Goodrow, Ventura County coordinator for the California Women's Agenda. So I have to ask you both, we celebrated last night. What do you think about where we are now? So many rollbacks. And women's organizations, I mean, the grassroots groups are doing amazing work, but the national groups, I often wonder, where's the voice? So what do you think about where we are right now? Gail, why don't you start?
I will start because what comes to mind is having had this celebration last evening of these women from all over the country, all over the world, come and celebrate and acknowledge the work of Women's Intercultural Network. They all spoke, each one mentioned something about having been in Beijing in 1995. If you look back 15 years ago and you see how far China has come and how much we in the United States have lost as a culture, as a society, no one could have predicted that. At that time, at that conference, we looked ahead to real positive change, entering into, finishing up the gains of the 20th century, entering into the 21st century. We have lost so much, and China has gained so much. They are creating a vibrant middle class. They are looking at their family structure. They're investing money in their infrastructure. What has happened to the American culture? And I think my view is that it has been co-opted by power structures that we don't even know about. We know some of the tips of the iceberg, but what we don't know is the refusal to acknowledge positive change. However, I would say, that being said, and not to belabor that is my view, that it's more powerful than we are. However, I'm a firm believer in the march of civilization, that no matter what happens, we are always going forward, and that whatever downturns we take, we will survive and we will prevail, because that's the march of civilization. We are in the, civilization is for human rights, even during periods of slavery, during periods of genocide, during periods of severe curtailment of rights, especially this fundamentalist terrorist era. We still will be in support of real human rights in the longer run. So I'm very positive, and I think women will be at the forefront of that. Now, we are seeing, I'll add just one other point, which is that if we don't engage youth, however, to understand what's at stake, that is our serious challenge, I think. It's not just the grassroots work that we do for empowerment of women and girls. We really have to look at the youth culture and to say, how can we speak to them? I will add one last point, is that I have a friend returned from the Middle East just recently who said we have to find a way to enter into dialogue with women, veiled women. We do not know how to speak with them, and we have to find a language, we have to find an outreach mode that we can have a conversation. So that's where we are, looking for ways of dialogue and communication that will take us forward.
Diana?
Yeah. Well, I agree with everything you say, and
I'm so glad.
Everything you say. I think it's really important that we look at the youth culture. I believe that we are also moving forward. I think human history has proven that, and I think that we are on it. We do go in ups and downs. Sometimes there's 2 steps backwards, but we do keep moving forward, and that's what keeps me going, is that optimism, that knowing that it will get better, it will change, but it makes when you get older, it's a little more difficult. And you want to see the young people doing more today than they are doing, but I think that there is always hope for the future. I agree that, but you have to think globally and you have to act locally. I think if you always keep that perspective in mind, is to know what's going on in the world and then to act locally, not to get overwhelmed by the fear, because it seems so all-encompassing, that every little bite counts, every little step that you take. You can eat a whole elephant one bite at a time, as a friend of mine said, and I think that's really important, and that's what we keep trying to do. And I think that young people will wake up to seeing that their world is in jeopardy, and they will take control, and they will make a difference. I really think that it's important that we not lose hope, that we stay optimistic and have faith. Cross-cultural dialogues with women of all cultures are really, really important. And I think we can. I think women can talk to each other. I think that we deal more in emotion sometimes, but we can't speak from our hearts and reach each other. I think the Jean Boland's message of last night is very important. That love will win out, and that we will not continue on a path of self-destruction. People will rise up against these negative forces that we're experiencing right now, and we will come out of it. It's just difficult during the struggle.
Someone last night told me this struggle is going to be a long, hard struggle.
It will be.
Every day is going to be a struggle.
Yes,
and I think it has been.
It's fear-based.
It's fear-based. And I remember marching with my grandfather in New York City when I was a child for peace and against fascism and the rise of fascism. And I remember thinking that he would see that someday in his lifetime that he would see a peaceful world, a world where people got along. Unfortunately, it didn't happen in his lifetime. I still have hope that it will happen in my lifetime. I think the forces of fundamentalist religious beliefs are the real reason that we're having problems today. As long as we have uneducated people in the world whose education is based on fundamentalist beliefs and on lack of education, that we will not solve the problems. And until we can provide education for women and girls, particularly right now, because they have the ones that lack the education, we will solve the problems. 3 Cups of Tea, Greg Mortensen's work in Pakistan and Afghanistan on building of schools is one of the ways to do that. Organizing and women organizing. So organizing wherever they are, whether it's 1 or 2 of them or 100 of them, but we have to keep our movement going, and there's no turning back. As we said in Beijing, and we continue to say, we just keep on moving forward, never turning back, and that's what we do. We do it as best we can.
Final thoughts? 1 minute?
Yes. Fear is the mind killer. We have to look at fear as a strategy to keep people ignorant and powerless, and we have to fight against that. Be ever mindful that within the power of the individual relating to another individual, creating a bond of collaborative forwardness, we can move forward, and that's what it's going to take. And it may be our entire lifetime.